You're watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali, and I'll be taking you to top news across Canada.
Toronto cherry blossoms in High Park expected to reach peak bloom Monday. Union representing 10,000 TTC workers says it has taken first step towards strike action. Body of 14-year-old boy pulled from Lake Ontario. Police say he drowned while swimming. Israel says it will respond to Iran attack as world leaders urge restraint. Man killed in shooting in Toronto's western area identified. Ontario to add more than 300 weekly GO Transit trips by the end of the month. Ontario and Ottawa release joint statement moving forward on Highway 413.
Those were the headlines, and now let's look into the details.
The body of a 14-year-old boy has been pulled from Lake Ontario after police say he drowned while swimming near Ashbridges Bay Park on Sunday night. Police previously said that they were called to the East End Park at around 6 p.m. for a report of a person missing in the water. Speaking to reporters on Monday morning, Acting Inspector Dan Pravika said the boy was swimming with a friend when he began to struggle and went underwater. The boy's friend called out for help and a passerby jumped into the water to try to assist, Pravika said. I believe a husband and wife were walking by and husband jumped in, he added. Several fire rescue boats were deployed near Northern Dancer Boulevard and Lakeshore Boulevard East on Sunday night in an effort to locate the missing youth, but the rescue efforts were unsuccessful. Police confirmed that the boy's body was recovered at around 9 a.m. on Monday morning. Pravika told reporters that the body was found not far from where crews were searching on Sunday night. He could not confirm the circumstances that led to the drowning. While the boy was wearing shorts at the time of the incident, Pravika said it is unclear if he and his friend went into the water on Sunday with the intention of swimming. I do not believe he was wearing a life jacket, the inspector said. The teen is believed to be a resident of Toronto, he added. It is a difficult time. We find a person in the water, never mind, a 14-year-old, Pravika said. I can't imagine what the family is going through at this time. Israel's military chief said Monday that the country will respond after Iran launched an attack involving hundreds of drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles. World leaders are urging Israel not to retaliate. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says all sides must show restraint to avoid a rising spiral of violence in the Middle East. French President Emmanuel Macron said Paris will try to convince Israel that we must not respond by escalating. The Iranian attack on Saturday marked the first time Iran has launched a direct military assault on Israel, despite decades of enmity dating back to the country's 1979 Islamic Revolution. The attack happened less than 2 weeks after a suspected Israeli attack in Syria that killed 2 Iranian generals in an Iranian consular building. An Israeli military spokesman said the 99% of the drones and missiles launched by Iran were intercepted. Israel and Iran have been on collision course throughout Israel's 6-month war against Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip. The war erupted after Hamas and Islamic Jihad, 2 militant groups backed by Iran, carried out a devastating cross-border attack on October 7th that killed 1,200 people in Israel and kidnapped 250 others. An Israeli offensive in Gaza has caused widespread devastation and killed over 33,700 people, according to local health officials. The cherry blossoms in High Park are expected to bloom right on schedule next week. Peak bloom, which is when more than 70% of the blossoms are open, is expected to begin on April 22nd and last for about 4 to 10 days, depending on the weather conditions. We are on track, we are on schedule, Rohit Rao, Fundraising and Communications Director at the High Park Nature Center, told Awaz News. Peak bloom typically happens between late April and early May, and we're still on that schedule. Rao said that if the city has cooler temperatures during the peak bloom period, people will be able to see the blossoms for a longer period of time, which is what happened last year. If it is warmer, then the flowers progress quicker and you will have a relatively short period of peak bloom, he said. It typically lasts for a week, and then you start to see the flower petals start falling off. Japan's ambassador to Canada, Toru Hagiwara, gifted the city 2,000 Somyo Hoshino sakura trees in 1959 on behalf of the citizens of Tokyo in appreciation of Toronto accepting relocated Japanese Canadians following the Second World War. The blossoms now typically draw hundreds of thousands of visitors to park every year. The blooms are a great sign of arrival of spring, Rao said. The blossoms are heavily dependent on the late winter and early spring temperatures. Rao said that they initially progressed quickly last week due to very warm temperatures. Currently, the blossoms are stage 4 of the blooming process, which is when the flower stems get longer and the individual blossoms can be clearly seen. The blossoms are very vulnerable to frost at this point. During the next stage, which happens typically 4 to 6 days before peak bloom, fluffy white sakura blossoms emerge with each flower opening at different times. At the final stage, stage 6 peak bloom begins with the majority of blossoms open. The union representing more than 10,000 transit workers in Toronto says it has taken the first step towards strike action as contract talks with the TTC stall. On Monday morning, the amalgamated transit union ATU Local 113 said it has applied to the Ministry of Labour to request that a conciliator be appointed. Our union's collective bargaining team has been working through negotiations with the TTC for weeks trying to get our members the new contract they deserve. The TTC is refusing to align with ATU Local 113 on the key priorities of transit workers, including job security, wages, and benefits, the union said in a media release on Monday. The release went on to say that while the request is only an initial step toward labor action, the union is prepared to move to direct action, including a full withdrawal of services. We are continuing to bargain with the employer, Marvin Alfred, president of ATU Local 113, said in a written statement. We are hoping that the conciliator will act as a resource to support our union by obtaining a fair collective agreement. The move comes days after another group of TTC workers announced that they could walk off the job as soon as next week. CUPE Local 2, which represents 661 electrical and trade workers at the TTC, confirmed early this month that it has set a strike deadline of 12:01 a.m. on April 22nd. It has been 13 years since unionized TTC workers have been in position to take job action. Workers are now legally able to strike after a court ruling last year struck down Ontario's designation of the TTC as an essential service. Ontario will introduce more than 300 new weekly GO Transit trips by the end of the month, something Metrolinx describes as the single biggest enhancement of GO Rail service since 2013. The changes will include 15-minute weekend service, frequency on parts of the Lakeshore West and Lakeshore East lines. It will also mean additional trains on the Kitchener, Stouffville, and Milton lines starting April 28. Premier Doug Ford made the announcement in Milton, Ontario, alongside Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria. This means more options and greater convenience on Milton Lakeshore West, Lakeshore East, Kitchener, Stouffville, and the UP Express Lane lines, the Premier told reporters. Today's announcement represents a 15% increase in GO service. The government also said that some trips along Lakeshore West, Lakeshore East, Milton, Kitchener, Barrie, and Stouffville will be adjusted to depart up to 9 minutes earlier or later to better align with actual travel times and new and connecting services. In a statement, CEO of Metrolinx, Phil Worcester, called the additional trips the single biggest enhancement of GO Rail service since 2013, adding that it will bring the total number of weekly rail trips to 2,307. This will give our customers more flexibility and makes it easier to choose transit first, he said. Ford said the timing of Monday's announcement was unrelated to a by-election taking place in Milton on May 2nd, despite a suggestion from the Ontario Liberal Party. The Liberal candidate for the riding said in a statement that all-day GO train service for Milton was something that both he and leader Bonnie Crombie has fought for. Ford said that his government is making announcements every single day in every region of this province. An agreement between the provincial and federal governments will see Premier Dakfor's flagship Highway 413 move forward with a joint working group dedicated to minimizing environmental impacts. In a statement released Monday, officials said that both governments have agreed to a collaborative process to assess and manage the issues around federal species at risk throughout Ontario's planning of the project. Environmental advocates and local farmers have criticized the plan, noting it will compromise crucial land impact business. A 2022 report by Environmental Defense identified at least 29 federally identified species at risk that will be impacted by the highway and said it would cross more than 100 streams and rivers and result in the loss of 400 acres of greenbelt land. In May 2021, the federal government determined the highway warranted designation under the Impact Assessment Act, a piece of legislation that gives them the authority to evaluate how climate change may be impacted by the project. After a Supreme Court opinion found the Impact Assessment Act was unconstitutional, the government has been actively fighting the process for both Highway 413 and Ontario Place. In March 2024, both governments said they agreed to resolve the court battle through a joint consent order. The designation has now been set aside. In the coming months, we will move forward with procurement to get shovels in the ground on key interchanges of the project, bringing us one step closer to getting it done, Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria said in a statement. In Monday's joint statement, government officials released a few more details about this agreement, saying that a joint working group will be created to recommend appropriate measures to minimize environmental impacts in the areas of federal environmental jurisdiction. Officials noted the project is still subject to the Ontario's Environmental Assessment Act and the other provincial and federal protections, including the Fisheries Act, the Migratory Birds Convention Act, and the Species at the Risk Act. Toronto police have identified a man who was fatally shot in the city's western neighborhood late Sunday afternoon. The shooting happened near Lawrence Avenue West and Ralph Street, just east of Western Road. Officers were called to the scene shortly before 5 p.m. following reports of several gunshots heard in that area. There, people found a male who had been shot. The suspects fled the scene. Despite life-saving measures being attempted, the victim was pronounced dead at the scene. He has now been identified as 32-year-old Toronto resident Mohammed Abdi Dwell. Dwell is the city's 21st murder victim of the year. Police said that they do not have any suspect information at this point. They also said that they are unclear on how the suspects fled the area, nor do they know what led to this fatal shooting. Anyone with the information, including anyone who witnesses the shooting or anyone who may have been driving in the area at the time and has dashcam footage, is asked to contact Toronto Police at 416-808-7400 or Crime Stoppers anonymously.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.